What is going on, guys? It is the Dark Horse MMA Podcast, episode 11. And you know what we do here. Before we get started, we're bringing it back. We're bringing back the whiskey. We're bringing back starting this shit off with not proper 12. We got Wayne Glensky, number 99. For those of you guys who don't know him in Canada. Ooh, love that sound. Let's measure up. Ooh, Steve will do it. Yeah. Woo! Okay, let's pour this shit up. You know, I'm driving later, so I gotta have some water in my system. That's a joke. I do not condone that shit, but cheers to you motherfuckers that listen to this. This is for you. I'm not lying when I say this is unfiltered and unbiased. And just a description for anyone listening on Spotify, I am currently sipping some whiskey. So yeah, that is that. There she goes. So over the weekend we had UFC Fight Island 6. Good card, a fucking huge a huge build up to the main event. You know, it's been like 2 years ever since Ortega completely bitch slapped. I think his name's Jay Park, the Korean Zombie translator, with all that beef that's happened, and then the zombie saying he's gonna make Brian Ortega bleed and all this kind of shit. Very hyped up fight. I was really excited. I said sadly that this fight was going to be a contender for fight of the year. That didn't happen, but it was still a fucking excellent fight if you're not a casual. If you're a casual, then you can stop watching this podcast. I really don't care. You're irrelevant, regardless. Sorry, not sorry, bitch. But anyways, so the first fight, to just jump right into it, we got Thomas Almeida and Jonathan Martinez. This was, I believe, bantamweight belt. Martinez is 12-3. He was a plus 115 underdog, and that was obviously his record before his fight. And Almeida, 22-3. He was a big vet. He had that experience over him, and he was actually the minus 135 favorite. Everyone had kind of the high expectations for this guy. People thought that he was going to be this dominant champion in the UFC in that division, and actually Martinez was saying before the fight that he actually looked up to this guy. So that's something that's always really cool, to fight someone that you look up to. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience. You know, people were saying, like, is he going to be able to pull the trigger? But like, for me personally, if I'm fighting like Conor McGregor, the guy that got me into this sport, I'm going to want to kick him in the chest. I'm going to want to kick him in the face, and then be like, knock him out and be like, I just knocked out my idol. Who's going to look up to me and try to kick me in the face next? That's kind of the mentality I have for whenever people talk about fighting their idols. Like, if I fight my idol, I'm going to beat the shit out of him. I'm not going to hesitate and be nice. Like, what the fuck? I'm going to beat the fuck out of him. That's the way I approach everything when it comes to that kind of situation. Like, I'll be respectful after I clean your chin out when you put it on a platter, as Israel Adesanya would say. You know, something to even get into before is Martinez. This guy, I love his personality. He has such a funny personality. He's so soft-spoken. And Dan Hardy was even saying before the fight started, when he was on his walkout, he was saying, you know, even for the fighter meetings, this guy, we couldn't really get anything out of it. And it was the exact same after this fight, which I'll get into eventually after I break it down a little bit. Right from the beginning, we could tell that Martinez he looked pretty fucking clean. He looked good. He looked calm. He looked very calm for a guy facing his idol, one of his idols, who he himself believed was going to be a UFC champion when he was younger in the come up almost. So this guy, he had a stiff jab. He was keeping Almeida at a distance, not really allowing him time to think. And if he wanted to try to come in and throw a combo, he pieced him up with a jab. Yeah, with his left leg, he's nasty with his left thing. He's a very dangerous man with that left leg. In his highlights they were showing before this fight started, he had some nasty knees. Both guys had pretty good knees, but Martinez, with his left leg, he has such a wide variety of attacks from his left leg specifically. Whether that be in leg kicks, body kicks, teeps, head kicks, knees. This guy had it all. He looked very calm. He looked cool, and the fact that he's soft-spoken, he's a soft-spoken killer, just adds like the cherry on top. It's just something so funny. He's not going to be making $10 million like Conor McGregor a fight or a round, whatever the fuck he makes. But he has a lot of potential in that division, even though it is stacked. He's going to be on his way up, I feel like. So, yeah, just basically throughout that fight, I'm just looking at my notes right now. Cracking him with the jab. And then eventually he was landing some nice left hooks. That was his straight hand. So, he was landing those, I think it was left hooks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a southpaw, regardless. Whatever his straight hand was, you guys know what I'm talking about. He was landing that pretty cleanly. He was landing the hooks around the guard of Almeida and cracking him on the chin or on the temple or whatever he was landing. He was landing it pretty hard, but and eventually actually cut open Almeida on his left eye. And Almeida in 2019 actually had surgery on his left eye, so that's kind of a shitty situation. You don't want him to lose his fucking eye like Michael Bisping and be able to pop it out as a party trick. Like, fucking Michael Bisping, man. I love that guy so much, so tough. I have so much respect for him. The fact that he left hook Larry, Luke Rockhold, that douchebag on short notice, fucking amazing. Love that guy. That guy's going to be on this podcast soon. I guarantee it. That's going to happen one day. But yeah, guys, no. So it was a good fight. It was very entertaining. Wasn't like a crazy all-out war that casuals want fucking every minute of every second of every fight they watch. Whether that being like 2 fights a year or fight cards a year. But referring back to my notes, Martinez, and then when it went into the third round, Martinez, it was pretty even, and then Martinez landed a huge left hook. That left hook I was talking about earlier wobbled Almeida in the third pretty badly, but then Almeida recovered in a few seconds, landed a few shots of his own, dead even on strikes with 20 seconds left, so it was pretty fucking close. And I believe it was Martinez who had, I think, 1 or 2 shitty decisions that everyone in the media believed should have gone his way, which in reality doesn't mean fuck all, because the judges are deciding your fights. I don't care what MMA media nerds decide or think who won. These guys have never gotten punched in the face before, so in reality, I do not fucking trust their opinions whatsoever. You guys know, the fans, this is for the fans, this podcast. We know that the MMA media, have you guys ever gone on like MMA, MMA World, MMA Weekly? I'm going to check it out right now. What's it called? MMA Fighting. Love their shit. Great website, great content they have, but oh my God. They had this one segment where it's like something about morning coffee, a morning coffee podcast or some shit. These guys are the biggest nerds talking about fights. Like, okay, yeah, you guys are reporters or whatever the fuck bullshit degree you guys got. But, man, it is such a turnoff when you fucking see these guys that are covering the most violent sport. Just something about it. The guys covering the most violent sport, and, like, the fact that you have no actual personal experience getting hit, getting your arm bent the wrong way, like that shit just rubs me the wrong way. So there is certain guys like Brett Okamoto and, Ariel Helwani's pretty good. But, I love when there's ex-UFC fighters that are covering the sport. Like, for judges, should all be UFC fighters. If you disagree with me, what the fuck? I don't know what kind of mindset you're at. I don't know what your brain chemistry is saying, but you need to switch something up with that. One sec, let me take a sip of my fine, not proper 12. It's still liquid gold. It's still pretty fucking good. If you guys are in Canada, highly recommend Wayne Glensky, 99, whatever whiskey it's called. It's pretty good. Hit that in proper 12, not too bad. I didn't want to get too close to the mic. I don't know any of you who like fucking ASMR, but anyways, Martinez, unanimous decision, 30-27. Happy to see him win. Took out his idol, pretty dope. DC after the fight was like harassing this guy to call out someone. He's like, I don't know. I don't got anyone to call out. He wasn't even saying anything to DC. It was just so funny. DC's like, you gotta get out of your comfort zone in front of like literally the world. This guy's just tugging out his balls, trying to fucking get him to say something, and he was not having it. DC eventually told him to fuck off, and it was awesome. Great kid. Definitely has a lot of potential in that division. Can't wait to see him fight. That's for sure. For God's sake, whatever the fuck, it's for sure that I'm very excited to see that guy fight in a stacked division. Let's see how that guy turns out in the future. But Going on into the next fight, let's see. James Krause versus Claudio Silva. Claudio Silva, that guy can't throw a fucking jab or a straight punch if it were to save his life. He throws like he just got into the first fight of his life, just throwing these wild hooks. Fucking, I don't even know what the fuck this guy was throwing, these overhands. Had like zero technique. He was very eager with his strikes, so he's pushing the pace to James Krause. James Krause, always game. I love this guy. This guy, I believe in not one of his last fights, he took the fight on less than 24 hours notice. Complete badass move. UFC, you're gonna fight killers, so you gotta shout out that guy. If you're not a casual and you watch every UFC event, you don't have to watch all the prelims, but if you watch, at least the main card of every event, then you will recognize James Krause because he corners a lot of fighters. He's a part of the oh my god, I'm burping so much. He corners a lot of guys, and so it's cool. He's predominantly a BJJ guy. He has 14 wins by submission, so it's cool. It's interesting to note that both these guys were BJJ specialists. Claudio Silva, even though I've really never heard of this guy before this fight, undefeated in 14 years. He's 14-1, so he's basically kind of like undefeated if you were to look at it. I believe he's undefeated in how many years? 13 years this man has been undefeated for. Like, who are you? I don't know who your name. Like, this guy probably fights once every 6 years. Like, even though the math doesn't add up. I'm not a math guy. Shout out Paul Bissonnette from Spittin' Chicklets. If you're from Canada and you're into hockey, you know that shit. But the fact that Krause is a vet, 27-9, and even coming on this, taking this fight on 2 weeks' notice, was a minus 135 favorite, so it says a lot about his knowledge on the sport. Loves the sport. And Silva, he actually beat Leon Edwards, this guy, which is a fucking task in itself. I didn't even know Leon Edwards accepts fights, so to see that this guy beat Leon Edwards is interesting. I'm pretty sure Leon Edwards he obviously does have a sick record. He definitely does have very few losses, unlike Jorge Masvidal, even though I'm a Jorge Masvidal fan. He has 300 losses, him and Nate Diaz. And the guy walked out to Ambitions as a rider, and something that was funny that I noticed with that fight was after James Krause walked out first, after he was like waiting for his opponent's song to come on, right away you hear the beats of Ambitions as a Rider by Tupac, and he's like, okay, I can fucking roll with this. So it's cool to see. Like, that is the first song on my playlist. I have a playlist that I used to listen to on my way to jiu-jitsu, and that was the first song that I added. Ambitions as a Rider by Tupac. Hard fucking song. Love that song. One of the best walkout songs you can walk out to. A little cliche, but can't blame it. It's like that Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Whatever. Oh my god, I think I just referred to a Corbin Blue movie, which is hilarious. Shout out fucking the Disney Channel. Silva has the longest active UFC submission streak at 3. He's 14-1, and he was a plus 115 underdog. Krause, in that fight, you could see he has some great footwork. Whenever he leaned out of the way, he would switch stances. He was getting out of the way of fucking Silva's looping hooks that had no technique on them whatsoever. He was stuffing Silva's takedowns, had pretty good control. I actually learned a few things of how to escape when someone has your back from watching this fight, so it's pretty interesting. I can't refer to it right now because I've been sipping on some whiskey, but definitely watch that back. You probably will learn something if you're a BJJ guy, if you're into mixed martial arts or anything. And if you're watching this fucking podcast, you obviously are. So definitely check that out if you haven't watched it before. And Krause hurt Silva. He throughout that fight, it was kind of like the same thing. Silva was charging in with his chin up in the air on a platter. I think there were some vegetables around his face as he was charging in, because it was such a beautiful platter for James Krause to step back and crack him with that straight right hand. And that was a theme throughout this fight constantly. I can't really dig into this fight as much as I don't know. I don't even want to be honest. But it's the same thing. Step back, right hand. Step back, right hand. Same shit. Jab, jab, right hand. Constantly throughout this fight, same shit. And then actually something that kind of had a momentum shift in shift in this fight was that Krause actually said his knee was torn, I think going into it was actually after the first. I was going to say the second. After the first, he was telling his corner, he's like, oh yeah, my knee's torn. No big deal. It's like a typical Monday for me. I wake up, have my coffee, tear my knee. Good morning, Canada. But yeah, no, so that's that. He said he was fine. He's a champ. UFC fighters, unlike Sean O'Malley, that pussy. These guys are so tough. For the majority, it's easier said than done, obviously. If you tear your fucking ACL, everyone says that's like the worst pain in your life. Like my mom tore her ACL and she actually said that was like the worst pain that was more painful than giving birth. Sorry if that's too much information, which fuck you if it is. That's my mom. But yeah, no, so it's definitely some of the most painful things, one of the most painful experiences a person can go through in their lives. So yeah, after that, same shit, step back right hand, boom, 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 bing, bing, bing. And then in the third round, it was really fucked up Krause's leg. And then it was noticeable because every time Silva leg kicked him, his leg would give out. Eventually, the story of the fight was Krause landed the cleaner shots, but Silva was more eager and I don't know if he was throwing more, but let me check the significant strikes right now. Yeah, so James Krause landed 94 out of 159, and Silva landed 64 out of 214, but Silva was more eager. He kind of just he charged in and just really, he had more pressure. I'll say that. That's a perfect way of saying it. He had more forward pressure, but Krause was landing, piecing him up twice every time he threw one hook with horrible technique, basically. That was the story of the fight. Krause, unanimous decision win, 30-27 across all judges' scorecards. And it was funny. I loved his post-fight post-fight interview because everyone, all these fighters are sucking Dana White's penis. That's this motion, by the way, for the guys on YouTube. Sucking Dana White's penis about UFC Fight Island. Deservedly so. They should. And Krause is like, you know what? I fucking want to get the hell off of this island because the sleep schedule is terrible and I want to go home. I thought that was so funny. I can't imagine Dana White's reaction because everyone, basically is like, I want to hop this cage and lick your balls because you've done so much, which he has. But still, it's just funny seeing a guy, complete different mindset. Like, I want to get the fuck off of this. Give me, transfer me my 50K and let's go. It's funny how that goes. So yeah, the next fight. Oh man, Jimmy Crute against, holy shit, I'll try to pronounce this guy's name. Modestas Bukauskas. I'll just call him Mod because that's short form. So Jimmy Crute versus Mod, who is 11-3. Jimmy Crute 12-1. This is after the fight. Jimmy Crute, he is a Dana White Contender Series alumni. If you guys haven't watched any of their free fights, definitely check it out on YouTube. Highly recommend it. He has some nasty Kimura submissions. He submits guys in fucking under a minute with his Kimura. And for my personal experience, that's something I've had the most success with. It's kind of like a strongman bum move in jiu-jitsu. It's just like if you're strong and you know the technique, you can really rip someone's shoulder apart no matter what, unless they have good defense, obviously. And he's tied with the most UFC. He's tied it for the most in UFC history with 2 Kimura submissions. He was a minus 310 favorite going into this fight, so I think he was the biggest favorite in this card. Fucking Mod, my nickname for him, he was a former Cage Warriors champion, a high-level prospect. In his last fight, he actually had that unique finish where he landed, some guy was on a double leg against the fence, and when the guys have raining down elbows on the temple, the pea head, Dustin Poirier's sweet spot, as Conor McGregor would say, landed that. And then he was kind of on his ass after the bell rang. This is the last fight, obviously. And then the guys opened the cage. He leaned back to go against the cage, fell back. Ref called it off right away. So that was that guy's last fight. Interesting finish for that fight. So it was a pretty hyped up fight. This guy, Jimmy Crute, love his personality. He's a good Aussie guy. I always seem to root for Australians because my sister actually lives in Australia, my oldest sister. But yeah, no, so it was can't say too much about this because Jimmy Crute landing those nasty leg kicks right in the beginning, trying to fucking kick some kickboxer shit, kicking a beam was when he was kicking Mod's legs. And then eventually it caught him with a crazy nice right hand counter. I think Mod was trying to step in with a body kick, lead body kick, something like that, either lead or rear body kick. Caught him and put him out. He caught him, came back up, and then he fucking connected with a left or a right hook, put him out, and then refs called it. And then something that's pretty funny was that right away, remember when this guy's cross-eyed on the canvas, like, oh, what the fuck, ref? I'm still okay. Jimmy Crute was like, yo, don't worry. He put his arm around him. He was like, kind of like, oh, don't worry, bro. It was kind of just funny. This guy was fucking concussed. He was seeing as many stars are in the Milky Way. You just leave him alone, let him recover, then give your fucking condolences to his life, because that was just kind of an interesting sight to say the least. Okay, let me have another whiskey. It's going fucking cold, going to warm. That's how you can tell this shit. Woo! That's how you can tell this shit is getting to me when I say it's getting fucking cold. But anyways, knocked him out in the first round. Big comeback win for Jimmy Crute. I really do think this guy has a lot of potential in this weak-ass light heavyweight division in the UFC. But Scott Coker, your light heavyweight division ain't shit compared to this. So Bellator, shut the fuck up, man. You guys don't have anything to do for the UFC. Like, you have UFC retiree bums in that division, in that organization, to say the least, too. So overall, shut up. Don't say anything. Keep your mouth shut, Scott Coker, and get the fuck out of here. But anyways, it was actually something that was funny. I have in my notes was Jimmy Crute jumped the fence after, dabbed up Dana White. It was like, yo, my email's this. Transfer me the knockout of the night bonus whenever you have a chance. And fucking the guy right next to him, fucking Khamzat Chimaev, the man, the myth, the legend, just chilling with Uncle Dana White. He's Dana White's new son. Dana White has couple sons. One's Conor McGregor, the other one's Khamzat Chimaev. It's so funny, man. The Chimaev just wants to fight. I hope this guy fights soon. Hilarious character. Just such a funny meme of these two side by side watching the fights. Hilarious. You can tell Dana White loves that guy. Huge star, almost has 1 million followers in these 3 fights into the UFC. Well deserved. Khamzat Chimaev, my boy. Yeah, no, and then a funny thing that I wanted to just quickly say is that a funny thing that Dan Hardy said. He has these funny little quotes that he says about referencing guys that are like Bambi leg, basically. He said that Modestus collapsed like a newborn giraffe. I thought that was a good one. I had to mention that to you guys. I thought you guys would like that. So the co-main event, Katlyn Chookagian versus Jessica Andrade. Andrade, the nicest biceps in the UFC. This girl's fucking jacked. She's on those Mexican supplements. I love her. She's a good looking girl. Jacked to the gills. She's actually not on those Mexican supplements. I'm just busting balls. Relax, guys. Relax. I'm having some fun. Katlyn was she just beat the fuck out of Valentina Shevchenko's sister, not Valentina Shevchenko, because unless you have a gun and an army with you, you're not going to beat the fuck out of her. Valentina actually beat the shit out of her, TKO'd Katlyn, and then Katlyn, as revenge, just in like a Hollywood movie, just beat the shit out of her sister in her last fight. So this is her obviously fight after that, and she had a 7.5 height advantage. So the face-off for this fight was pretty funny. She's tied for the most wins in UFC flyweight history. She was 14-3, and she was she was surprisingly a plus 140 underdog going into this fight. She's a brown belt under John Danaher, who is an icon in jiu-jitsu. If you guys are into Joe Rogan, definitely watch that podcast. You'll want to roll right away. This guy's a legend. He's a very knowledgeable man in that sport. But going into it, not too much to say. It was a first round TKO by Jessica. It was her flyweight debut. She's the former strawweight champion. She was coming off that close decision loss to Rose Namajunas. She has the most performance awards in strawweight history, in UFC strawweight history. She was 20-8 going into this fight, and she was actually the minus 165 favorite. So it was kind of interesting to see that she was the favorite, even though she was making her flyweight debut against the number 1 contender. So it just proves that having nice biceps will fucking set you up for life, unless your name is Paulo Costa and you're gonna get starched by Izzy all fucking day. So yeah, no, not too much to say about it. Jessica, got some nice slams, used her fucking strength for this fight, and then landed a nice body shot in the first round on Katlyn, and Katlyn actually screamed, jumped up, ran away, turned around. Jessica was flying in, and when that happened, when she screamed and walked away, in pain, the referee thought it was like a vagina shot or some shit. And he would look. He literally, if you guys watch it back, he was mimicking to pause the fight. So he almost fucked up. Kudos to you, sir, for not stopping that fight and fucking up a finish. But yeah, no. So that happened. She landed another body shot, dropped Caitlin. TKO victory right away when she was in the turtle position. And Jessica, apparently if it's the same situation for Gilbert Burns beating Tyron Woodley and he's the number one contender, Jessica is now the number one contender at flyweight. So apparently that's the way it works. Not saying I disagree with it or agree with it. It is what it is. It's kind of the UFC rankings. It's a shit show to begin with, but it does make sense. If you beat the number one contender, you should be the number one contender. That's hard to disagree with at the end of the day. She wants Valentina next, so if she wants to get starched by the bullet, sure, I'll pay for it, I guess. I'll fucking whatever. It is what it is. No one's beating Valentina. I'll say this again. Valentina is going to beat Demetrius Johnson's title defense record because of how weak her fucking division is and because of how amazing of a fighter Valentina is. Unless Amanda Nunes gets a bullshit decision win over her again, drops down to flyweight, which I think is physically impossible, then that's going to happen. Okay, motherfuckers, another sip of whiskey before I cover the main event. Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie, number one contender fight, featherweight. So yeah, going into this fight, Ortega shaved his head. He shaved his head. Very surprising. I thought right away, looking at this guy's fade, that it was 100% weight related because I could have given myself a better fade than this guy. He was missing so many spots, so it kind of definitely looked like it was suspicious. If you guys don't know what sus means, that means suspicious for future reference. It looks suspicious for a weight cut reason. You know what I mean? Ortega, I don't know if he said that it struggled or whatnot in the past to make weight, but it looked like he was struggling this time. But yeah, no. So he shaved his head. He had the fucking most beautiful hair I've ever seen in the UFC, man. This guy, the girls were jealous of this guy's hair. Claudia Gadelha is probably shitting her pants right now because he shaved his head. She's in love with him. So my bad, Claudia. No, yeah, so he shaved, but like I gotta give big respect for Ortega because he was cutting weight and he was like, fuck man, I'm suffering. And he thought about his hair and he's like, oh man, like this hair, it's like kind of affecting my weight cut. Then he thought about like the cancer patients and like what they're going through and how they always suffer. And he's like, yo, I just have to suffer for this one weight cut. Like it doesn't make sense. And he thought about it and he's like, yo, give me the fucking clippers right now. And then he just shaved his head. Fucking huge respect to Brian Ortega, man. That guy's a G. He shaved his head for not really weight cut reasons, but to more so to donate his hair to Locks of Love. So I gotta love seeing that. Got a big shout out to my homie Brian Ortega. I actually did that myself too. I think back in grade 10. Back in high school, I grew my hair fucking down past my shoulders. Donated it to. It is a great feeling. It is awesome to do that. But yeah, no. So. Brian Ortega is number 2 ranked featherweight contender. He was 14-1 going into this fight, plus 170 underdog. He was the last time this guy fought. Something I want to talk about was the last time he fought Max Holloway. He got his face pounded in almost 300 times. Was like the UFC record to get your face jabbed in a fight. And I was actually at that event when it was called Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Represent. But yeah, no, so I actually saw this guy fight live. I saw this guy get his face pounded in live, and it's been like 3 years since that happened, so it's been a minute. So it does make sense for that reason that he was a plus 170 underdog. I'm surprised it wasn't a little bigger. So it was a number 1 contender fight, this fight. Zombie, I love this guy's walkouts. This guy, Zombie, boy. Fucking love this guy's song. The walkout song is that's also on my my jiu-jitsu playlist going into whenever I would go into on my drives to go roll. Fucking awesome song. Definitely add it to your playlist if you guys haven't already. So yeah, Korean Zombie is number 4 ranked featherweight contender who's tied for the most performance awards in featherweight history at 8. And this guy had a twister in his UFC debut. That was, if it wasn't, pre-COVID, that was the only twister before Bryce Mitchell came in and shit on that parade. But, awesome. The fact that you did that in your UFC debut, it shows a lot about yourself and a lot about your knowledge of the sport. And he did that without watching YouTube videos like Bryce Mitchell. So yeah, he was 16. He was 16-5 going into this fight, and he was a -200 favorite. And something that kind of worried me, because I love Brian Ortega. It was hard for me to predict this fight, but I ended up tweeting that I thought it was going to go to decision, and I felt like Korean Zombie was going to get the edge. But I said that, and I kind of thought about it. I sat on it. I thought about it. I was like, fuck. So Renner Gracie was on Below the Belt, which is Brendan Schaub's podcast, and he was saying after that fight, Brian Ortega got surgeries, he healed up, and then he changed everything about his coaches and his fight camp, and he changed everything. He changed everything. He changed his whole approach. Going into before that Max Holloway fight, he was losing almost every fight, and then he pulled off a fucking miracle out of his ass, and subbed guys or knocked them out, or whatever the ending was to the fight. He kind of got really lucky. I thought this guy got so lucky before that Max Holloway fight. This guy pulled it out of his ass, to say the least. That'll be the last time I say that. But the fact that Renner Gracie, his jiu-jitsu coach, wasn't in his corner did make me nervous. Even though he is his jiu-jitsu coach, he's a very calm voice in his corner, helping him remain calm. Brian Ortega has always been very calm throughout his fights, even when he was losing in a 3-round fight. And he was losing the first 2 rounds. So that did worry me, because Renner Gracie's a fucking legend. I love that guy. He's a great personality, a legend in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Definitely check him out on YouTube and wherever the fuck you are on social media. He will be there. I guarantee you that. But yeah, no, right away you could tell fucking huge evolution in Brian Ortega's striking on the feet. This guy, his footwork on point, boxing on point, leg kicks on point, spinning elbow. Holy shit, I'll get into that in a couple fucking seconds. On point for sure. This guy just looked amazing, crisp, playing with the Korean Zombie. The Korean Zombie couldn't do shit. Brian Ortega dropped Zombie in the first, staggered him a little bit, very calm. And he's like, okay, bitch, I staggered you. It is what it is, whatever. I'm going to pick you apart for 5 more rounds, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the way that went. That's the way the fight went. It was crazy. It was an awesome fight. I thought it was going to be a war. I did, obviously. I think it's every time you see guys talk this much shit, and for Brian Ortega's bitch slapping the Korean Zombie's tiny ass translator when he went to the washroom at a UFC event, you think, and the way Korean Zombie replied to that situation with all the fucking violent things he was going to do to Brian Ortega, which is very scary, obviously you're going to think that it's going to be a fucking beatdown. It's going to be a war regardless. Even Brian Ortega was saying before the fight that both these guys are going to have to go to the hospital, and so he hopes Abu Dhabi has some good health care. But yeah, no, so basically Brian Ortega dancing around the Korean Zombie, throwing different shit at him, leg kicks, teeps. I don't think he threw any head kicks, but fucking threw a spinning elbow. That spinning elbow, I watched this event with one of my good friends, Alex Deb, as we call him, the Manimal. He's the Hulk. He's the biggest fucking 22-year-old I know on this earth, and probably he is the biggest 22-year-old on this earth. He's huge. Love that guy. But yeah, no, so that happened. That spinning elbow happened. We jumped out of our fucking, off my couch. We're like, holy shit. It was just crazy. It looked like it was out of a video game. It looked like it was out of like a tutorial of how to do a spinning elbow in UFC 4, because it was so clean. It was crazy. And then he dropped the Korean Zombie. Didn't finish him. Credit on the Korean Zombie's chin, even though he had to stretch it out after. It held up. But then, it was the same thing throughout this entire fight. Ortega was mixing up his strikes so well. He was showing that it was an MMA fight, not a boxing fight, or not a kickboxing fight, or a Muay Thai fight. He was mixing it up well, extremely well. Ortega, or Zombie, just really wasn't, hitting the gas pedal when he needed to. Right in the 3rd round, it was like, okay, he's gonna start pushing the pace. Wasn't pushing the pace. Zombie was kind of waiting for that counter right hand that he fucking starched Renato Moicano or whatever his name is, in his comeback fight after getting starched by Yair. So he wasn't really pulling the trigger. He wasn't really throwing a lot of strikes when he should have been. And it just eventually led to a fucking beatdown by Brian Ortega. So Brian Ortega mixing it up well. He was actually grabbing Zombie's leg and kind of dragging it towards him. And it looked like he was going to land that lead elbow, which would have been like Dan Hardy even said it himself. He's like, I've never seen that before. That's so creative. So the fact that he had this all creativity, he was very calm, even though he was dominating. Even though he dropped Zombie a couple times, didn't rush in, put his chin on the platter for Zombie to counter and get knocked out. Very, very interesting. Very cool to see, because going into this fight, I said that I don't like how this is a number one contenders match for the featherweight title. I could see it for Korean Zombie. You know, he's been somewhat active, obviously. He's been more active than Brian Ortega. So I was like, okay, Korean Zombie wins, then it does make sense. So that's kind of a reason why I was rooting for him. I was like, okay, it makes more sense if he wins that he gets the belt. So he obviously didn't win. He got his ass kicked. So, but then with the way Brian Ortega looked, I'm so intrigued by this fight against Alexander Volkanovski, Alexander the Great. I think that's gonna be a banger of a fight. That's gonna be an amazing fight. And it's very interesting. I think this guy gives Alex Volkanovski problems, because Alex Volkanovski, if you shoot on Brian Ortega, you're gonna get choked the fuck out. No question about it. So standing, very interesting. Volkanovski's gonna have the reach advantage, but he's 3'6", I believe, officially. But yeah, but just getting realistic with it. It's going to be a very interesting battle on the feet, and I don't know if Brian Ortega is going to be able to take Volkanovski down. Very intriguing fight. I do think he gives him a lot of problems. I honestly think that this Brian Ortega can do some damage. I do think he can beat Alexander Volkanovski without a fucking doubt in my mind. That's not recency bias. That's fucking the reality of it. This guy is not the same fighter we saw him last time in his fight against Max Holloway. This guy's a killer. Very interesting to see what this guy is going to do. But yeah, man. No, just the same shit. 54-5 unanimous decision. Ortega. And then after the fight, Zombie playfully slapped Brian Ortega, kind of referencing the Jay Park bitch slap that he gave him. So that was funny to see. I love seeing the guys respectful. Something I always preach is that I love seeing the guys when they're very respectful for each other after they beat the shit out of each other for 5 rounds, especially if they were talking shit and there's a lot of animosity going into the fight. I always love seeing that. I love the sport of MMA for that reason. Something also, quick note, was that Alex and we stayed up to watch the Lomo fight. Lomo is I don't even know his first name. Lomachenko, the boxer. Holy shit, guys. Boxing sucks. Boxing is so fucking boring. Alex and I were fighting to keep our eyes awake for that shit. 12 rounds, man. That shit's so boring, but I'm definitely not breaking down that bullshit fight, because there's a reason that fight was free. I'll just say that. I'm not gonna fucking condone to watch boxing or any of that shit. But yeah, guys, that wraps up this episode. DarkhorseMMA Podcast, episode 11. Subscribe, comment who you guys think is going to win the KHABIB Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje fight. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Spotify, follow. Fucking send this to a friend. Send this to not a casual. Send this to a boy or a girl. My demographics from my analytics say that everyone that watches this is male. So send this to your friend. Let's grow this brand together. Fucking Dark Horse MMA Podcast, episode 11. It's over. Subscribe for multiple videos every week on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm fucking everywhere. Follow me wherever you can find me. Link in my bio. And guys, man, have a fucking great day. Have a great week. It's KHABIB Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje fight week. So can't wait for that. And I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Take care, motherfuckers.